Welcome to episode 165 of EDH Commander Challenge. I'm your host, BT. And now it's time for our second first round match of the EDHCC Patron Tournament. Last week we saw Emma outlast Jimmy to become the first of our final four. This week we have a first for the channel. As you know, not all our patrons live here in Canada. So what we do is we simply have one of our playgroup members play in their place, and they follow the patron's deck list as much as possible. Now you may ask the question, why not just use a simple webcam game? Well, there's three reasons for that. 1. Scheduling conflicts. 2. Not everyone has a webcam. And 3. I get to give out more prizes this way. Because you see, if a representative and the patron win the tournament or get entered into the random raffle, they both get prizes. And the most fun for this tournament for me is giving out those prizes. Oh, before I forget, we'll be taking a quick break from the tourney next week and dive into some Kaldheim that we've been waiting to do for a little while, so stay tuned for that. But for now, let's jump in and get into those opening hands of this round. First, in this corner, with an opening hand of a forest, Nykthos Shrine to Nyx, Spire Garden, Llanowar Elves, Sakura Tribe Elder, Wood Elves, Ghalta Primal Hunger, and his Gruul-style general, Ruric Thar the Unbowed. He is Mr. Fetchland. This is Joshua. Next, in this corner, represented by the perfectionist Phil, with an opening hand of an island, Shivan Reef, Wooded Foothills, Rewind, As Foretold, Soul Ring, Mirror of the Forebears, and his Izzet-style general Niv Mizzet Parun. He is the new Lollipop Jam. This is Steve. Steve's side won the dice roll to start us off, so let's begin another first round card fight. For their first turns, Phil plays Wooded Foothills and sacks it, paying 1 life to grab a Steam Vents from his deck into play untapped, which also causes him to take 2 more damage. Doing so allows him to cast a turn 1 Soul Ring, which he uses to cast Mirror of the Forebears, calling dragons for a strong first turn. While Josh plays a forest and casts a turn 1 Llanowar Elves. Phil plays Shivan Reef and casts As Foretold, passing. Josh plays a tapped Spire Garden and casts Sakura Tribe Elder. He then sacks it right away to grab a tapped mountain from his deck into play before passing. During his upkeep, Phil gains his first time counter on his As Foretold. Then he plays an island and casts Arcane Signet and passes. Josh plays Nykthos Shrine to Nyx and casts Wood Elves. But Phil casts Rewind to counter the spell, not wanting Josh to reach Ruric Thar mana just yet. He also gets to untap some lands thanks to his Rewind. Not to be denied, however, Josh casts Orcish Lumberjack and passes. During his upkeep, Phil gets his second time counter on his As Foretold. He then draws and passes. Josh plays a forest and casts Vizier of the Menagerie. He then checks his top card and decides to cast it thanks to his Vizier's effect. The card in question, Priest of Titania. He then moves into combat and pokes Phil with his Lumberjack for 1 damage, before passing. During his upkeep, Phil gains his 3rd time counter on his As Foretold. Then he plays an island and casts Nexus of Fate, gaining an extra turn as the card shuffles back into his deck before he passes. During his extra upkeep, Phil gains his 4th time counter on his As Foretold. And thanks to that, he gets to cast Tandem Lookout for free this turn off its effect. This makes Josh visibly worried, as he's aware that if that card soul bonds with Niv Mizzet and Josh takes even a single point of damage, that it will trigger a draw damage loop that will wipe him out in a single turn. The pressure is on now as Phil passes. Making his declaration to go all out now, Josh plays Fabled Passage and sacks it to grab a forest from his deck into play, which he gets to untap as he controls at least 4 lands. Then he casts Ghalta Primal Hunger for 6 mana as he had 6 power in play. Then he uses his Nykthos for 5 green and sacks a forest to his Lumberjack to help cast his General, Ruric Thar the Unbowed. Then he moves into combat and attacks with his Vizier. Phil declares no blocks and takes 3 damage before Josh passes. During his upkeep, Phil gets his 5th time counter on his As Foretold. Sadly, he did not draw land, but he says he will cast his General using a slightly painful and roundabout way. He starts by casting Isochron Scepter and choosing not to imprint anything on the card. Why, you ask? Well, he uses his As Foretold's free spell to cast Unwind to counter his own Scepter. While Unwind is on the stack, he floats 3 mana, in this case blue, and thanks to Unwind's effect gets to untap 3 lands. Also, we can't forget that Ruric Thar's effect was triggered twice, as 2 non-creature spells were played, dealing Phil a massive 12 damage. Ouch. Phil is now able to cast his General, Niv Mizzet Parun. Next, he soul bonds his 2 creatures, but can't win just yet, and realizes he has one small problem. He was intending on using his mirror to copy Niv and soul bond that with his Lookout, and attack this turn to trigger the combo. But he forgot that Ruric Thar has reach, and can easily block his attack. So as a result, he's forced to pass. For Josh's turn, he plays Rootbound Crag, and taps his Priest for the mana need to cast the Great Henge. Phil states doesn't matter for the moment as Josh has no hand, and thus no creatures to cast. But, thanks to the Vizier's effect, Josh checks his top card and casts it, which turns out to be Yeva, Nature's Herald. Thanks to the Henge, Yeva gets a +1/+1 counter, and Josh gets to draw a card. He checks his top card again, and casts Birds of Paradise off his Vizier. The Birds gets a counter, and Josh gets a draw once again. Then he taps his Henge to gain 2 life, and uses the mana towards his Nykthos for 11 green mana, and along with tapping his last red mana, casts Xenagos, God of Revels. It also gets a counter, and Josh gets to draw a card. Next up, Josh casts Bane of Progress, who also, thanks to the henge, gets a +1/+1 counter, and Josh draws again. It's almost like draw. Monster Cardo. No, I'm kidding. Then the Bane's ETB triggers, destroying all artifacts and enchantments, well except Xenagos because he's indestructible, giving the Bane 5 additional +1/+1 counters. Josh moves into combat and uses Xenagos to double the attack of his Ghalta, making it a 24/24 with trample, and proceeds to attack with all his creatures that are able to attack. Phil takes lethal damage, and with that, Josh advances to the semifinals. What a game! Want to know a fun fact? Josh barely won that game. Why, you ask? We found out after the game that Phil's next draw was Rogue's Passage. And despite having his field massacred at the hands of the Bane of Progress, he had 4 mana left, which would have been just enough to make his general unblockable and make his Soul Bond combo take the win. Whew. Phil did a great job here, but the one mistake in my opinion he made was using Rewind on the Wood Elves. Thanks to his As Foretold, I feel all he needed to do was bide his time and hold on to his counterspell until he could use the enchantment to cast his bigger spells like his General. While the Great Henge and the Vizier of the Menagerie did a great deal of work here, truth is the saving grace was Ruric Thar. You see, not even for his damage on non-creature spells, it's just the simple fact that if it did not have reach, Phil had him dead to rights on turn 6 with the Soul Bond draw damage combo. Agree with our picks? Let us know in the comments down below. Also, if you enjoy our content, consider becoming a patron. Give you access to some sweet stuff like bonus entries into giveaways, entries into our tournaments, your nickname at the end credits as part of our EDHCC club, and so much more. Please help us reach our next goal of 2,000 subscribers. Smash the subscribe button as we're so close. That's it for this week. Until next time. Oh, one more thing. By the way, are you a fan of Monster Hunter World? It is in fact my favorite PlayStation 4 game of all time. And it's a game that can be challenging and difficult enough that you'll keep going until you conquer it all. A master of this game is my friend Brandon, who got so good at the game that not only has he attained the maximum master rank level possible of 999, but he's beaten the game and some of the hardest bosses with every weapon, including the likes of Ruinir Gigante and the Black Dragon Fatalis. If you want to join in on some hunts or just support a really chill guy, check out BNasty0721. There'll be a link to his Twitch and YouTube channel in the description below. Happy hunting and join the crew because #we got you. Until next time, guys, stay safe, stay warm, and keep on card gaming. Cheers. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you're a fan of EDH gameplay and you like whether it be 1v1 or multiplayer and you want to be part of the ever-growing Commander Challenge family, just make sure you smash the subscribe button and notification bell down below. We do weekly videos. Don't forget as well to like, comment, share our videos. but most importantly, enjoy them. On behalf of all of our members here, I'm your host, BT. Feel free to check out all of the videos in the channel, join our game, it's now your turn. Cheers!